Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Jon F Gleman. We're going to be discussing his amazing novel, Life's Journey, Volume 1. It's available for purchase through Amazon, barnesandnoble.com. But people, if you want to gather everything that Jon has in store, well, do yourself a favor and head directly to his personal site. And that's jongleman.com. There you'll find more information on Jon himself, more information on this fantastic narrative, amongst a plethora of other things. Head on over to jongleman.com today to gather everything that he has in store. And just to make sure that there's no confusion, that Jon is spelled Jon, okay? Drop the H. And before we go any further, I do want to point out that he was brought to our network by one of the best advertising firms in the business. And of course, I'm talking about CITI of Books. So listen, if you're a writer out there and you have a novel that you've created but you need help moving it, I'm going to give you some fantastic advice. Contact CITI of Books. They're one of the best in the business to do it. And people, this is what they specialize in. So head on over to cityofbooks.com today and gather all of the ways that they're going to help you maximize your creative endeavors. And listen, it is a true pleasure, okay? An absolute delight to have Jon here on the line. Now, the moment you start to do any research on his book, Life's Journey, Volume 1, you're going to understand the conversation that we're getting ready to have. And people, please believe it, we're only going to scratch the surface here today, okay? By the time we're done, you're going to want to go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, jongleman.com, purchase your copies. And since we have him here on the line, like just to go into a bit of a description of it, this is an educational / inspirational novel here, okay? It's a collection of 30 short stories, but it's all in part about preserving nature and really becoming engulfed in it. And, you know, and as I was talking to Jon in the pre-screening call, and he's telling me about what inspired him to embark upon it, right? And that underlying message of being engulfed in nature. And it made so much sense to me. It seems like an eternity ago that I was, you know, a child, right? I was a teenager running around and just playing outside. And people, can I just say, I am so glad, I am so blessed to have been born in the generation that I was born in, because I think right after me was really when technology started to take off. And listen, for all of the benefits that technology gives, well, there are definitely some cons as well. And one of those things is the fact that people just don't go out anymore. People aren't really in nature anymore. And there's a disconnect. And I think that leads into the lack of consideration that we have. So on a grander scale, this book somewhat is influenced by global warming, right? In making sure that we are protecting nature. And I think that disconnect can be largely connected to technology advancing and people being so involved in their devices that we're not really just out and exploring nature anymore. I mean, listen, ask yourself, when was the last time you just went for a walk? When was the last time you just sat down in the park and just let your feet touch the grass, right? I mean, it's something that I think is so unfortunate that we miss out a lot on. And again, this book, I'm going down the rabbit hole right now because this book symbolizes so much, but this is going to be something you're going to want to have on your shelf, not only to get lost in the journey, but as that little extra inspiration of reminding you to just get out there and experience nature. I think there's something so pure, so beautiful about it. And at the end of the day, don't take my word for it. Take Jon's. He's written the book. He's done the research, and he's going to be able to articulate everything much better than I ever could. But what I want you to do is sit back, strap in, and get ready for a wonderful ride. Jon, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, this is a true pleasure, Jon. I think what you're doing here is special, okay? And it is an absolute delight to have you on our network to discuss it. Now, I know we have a lot of information to go into, but before we jump into the book, Jon, start off by telling our listening audience a little bit more about your background.
I've had several careers along my journey. I'm retired now, but as a kid growing up, and I consider that a career, my brothers and I would spend as much time as we could outdoors, exploring the fields, in the woods, around the house. And later on, as we got older, I grew up in Miami. We'd go fishing in Biscayne Bay or down in the Florida Keys. And this is when I developed my love of nature. Just being out there and being a part of it was very special. And so when I went to college, I went to the University of Miami and graduated with a degree in biology, and was fortunate after I graduated to get a job as an ecologist, which was my field of interest right away. And I worked many years in South Florida, and we did surveys and worked throughout the state of Florida as an ecologist. And it just, my love and interest and awe of nature just grew as I learned more and more about it. So nature has always been a part of my life, a big part, and something I felt I've always had an interest in and felt very much that I am part of it, along with all the plants and animals out there, that we're all in this together. I took kind of an interesting turn after a number of years as an ecologist. I went to work for a contractor for NASA at the Kennedy Space Center. A very different line of work. I started out as a electrical controls design engineer. That just opened up a whole new set of doors for me, and it just was awe-inspiring to work at the Space Center, to learn all those new things, and to become part of something much bigger than myself. And the people I work with there were just great. And so I spent over 26 years at the Space Center, and towards the end of that work, I started a custom woodworking shop with my sons. And one of the things we did early on is get involved using reclaimed lumber. And it just, it has its own special look, but it also, you're not cutting down new trees and cutting down forest. You're using lumber from sometimes 100 or 150 years ago, an old barn taken down. So I feel really good about that. And then a couple of years ago, I retired, and that's when I wrote the book.
Jon, let's just jump right into the book, Life's Journey, Volume 1. Tell us a little bit more about the words that are on those pages.
The main theme of the book is nature, and being a part of nature, and, deliberately becoming a part of nature, the world around us, and appreciating it and letting it sink in. So, as I said, throughout my life, I've always been a part of nature, and I'm encouraging people to do that with my book and with my stories. The book is a collection of stories of my life. I rather than use chapters, I use passages because it's a story of my life as I pass through time. And so it's a collection of these stories. Many of them deal with nature and my interaction with it, and also the interaction with people and working together is another theme of the book.
Mm-hmm. Jon, next question that I want to go into, I want to cover inspiration. Now, I know we've already started to go into it with your background, right? And listen, I think it's safe to assume, given your background and your own particular interest in nature, why this book was something you wanted to create. Now, connect the dots for me here, Jon, because this very easily could have been something that you created for your personal shelf, or something that you just told around you, but you wanted to take it a step further, publish the narrative for the public as well. What inspired you to do that?
Well, it's something that was on my mind for many, many years. And when I retired, I had the opportunity to integrate it or put it all together. And what I would like is for the stories that I have in my book, for people to read those and for it to inspire them to become more involved with nature. And I think as people do that they'll want to take care of nature and around them and get more involved and a part of it. And by doing so, they'll take better care of it. Mm-hmm. They'll help preserve and protect the world around them.
You know, Jon, question here, and I know that there's a story behind it, so I'm really wanting to hear it. Now, the cover of your book is something that is unique, right? It really does stop you in your track, and it creates interest. Talk to our listening audience about that book cover and why you chose it to be the representation for your book.
Well, the very last story in my book, the title of it is actually Life's Journey. And so the title of the book and the cover come from that last story. The story is actually a poem, and the last stanza in the poem has me standing at the side of a road next to a teddy bear, and I'm asking the bear, where does this road lead? And the teddy bear says to me, there's just one way to find out, to get rid of your doubt, and that's to try it and see, and that's to try it and see. This is actually a poem I wrote many years ago when I was in college, and I think it was what was going on in my head is, here I am in college, just getting started out in the adult world, and I guess this poem came to mind, and the end is like, I just need to try it and see.
People, again, we're here on the line with Jon F Gleman. We're discussing his book, Life's Journey, Volume 1, available for purchase through Amazon, Barnes & Noble. But make sure you head on over to his personal site, jongleman.com today. Jon, next question here, and, listen, a little bit of a curiosity here for myself, but what would you say was a highlight for you in writing this book? Or if not a highlight, something that surprised you throughout this entire process, maybe that you weren't expecting before you began on it?
Like I said, it's a collection of 30 stories, and sometimes when I would start writing a story, I come up with an idea and start writing it, I'd realize that what I thought I was going to write down, that it had a different effect on me as I was writing, as I was putting it on paper. And so there are things that earlier on in my life, sometimes even going back to childhood, that I realized, well, wait a second, that has a different meaning, at least a different meaning to me now than it did then. And I think that happened in a few of the stories I wrote.
Yeah. Two-part question here with this next one, Jon, and I know we've already started to go into this one, but I think the message is so important that it's worth doubling down on and repeating. So first and foremost, who would you say is your intended reader with this book? And secondly, what is that main message that you hope your readers take from it upon completing?
Well, I think the book is for a general audience. It's not a children's book, but I think kids in their teens and people in general will benefit from reading the book. And the message would be to get out there, become more involved with nature, take a walk, take in the world around you as you do that, and realize what an incredible home we have here on Mother Earth, our planet, our home that we live on, and how we're all interrelated, all the plants and animals and the people, and that we want to take as good a care of our home and their home as possible.
I love that. People, just get out, man. Just get out and be in nature. I love that. You know, people, listen, this is not all. Okay, Jon is putting in work. Life's Journey Volume 1 is what is available currently that you want to go and pick up. But of course, when you see that Volume 1 at the end of it, well, there's a Volume 1. There's got to be a Volume 2, right? Well, absolutely. Jon has 2 other books on the horizon that are set to come out very soon. So you're going to want to make sure to check back into Amazon, Barnes & Noble, jongleman.com frequently to get those books the moment that they're available. Now, Jon, we have a few extra minutes here, and I'd love for you to go into a description of one of your other titles. Please take it away whenever you're ready. Let us know what's upcoming for you.
Well, Life's Journey Volume 2 is a continuation of the Volume 1. There'll be more stories that I put together of my passage of time through life here and through my journey. And the theme will remain the same, though. That we're all so fortunate to be a part of this incredible home we have, Mother Earth, and that we should do everything we can to be a part of it and to help protect and preserve it.
People, listen, this is a wonderful resource to add to your shelf. I mean, listen, if you just want to have a book to just get lost in, to help you pass the time on a rainy day, it's got it. Right? 30 short stories that you're going to be able to take and run with. But also that underlying message. Oh, man. Can you imagine the world that we could potentially have tomorrow if everyone starts to view nature in this way today? Right? If everybody starts to just get out in nature and experience it, and through that experience leads you to care more about nature and about our world, my goodness, the world that we will be setting up and leaving behind for our children will be absolutely gorgeous. And people, it can be done. I know that this is a hot topic when it comes to society right now, right? When we're talking about global warming, this is a hot topic. And there is so much there, but not only nature, as Jon said, yes, getting out, caring for nature and helping preserve it is of utmost importance and really the key underlying factor in this book. But another one is also caring about what we like to call here on People of Distinction, our human family. We are all connected, and it's time for us to start acting like it. Because really, when you get down to brass tacks, man, there's more that connects us than separates us. This book symbolizes that. This book is going to educate you on that and re-impress it in your mind. And Volume 2 is going to follow suit along those same lines. Listen, I know if you're all like me, you're sold. Okay, there's nothing more that needs to be said, but I'm going to re-impress it for you one more time, okay? Amazon, Barnes & Noble, jongleman.com are the places you have to go. Life's Journey Volume 1 is the title you have to pick up, and Jon F Gleman is the author you need to thank for bringing it to your table. This is a book that you're going to want to add to your shelf. This is a book you're going to want to give as a gift to add to someone else's. Head on over there today and do your part. Jon, this has been a true pleasure, man, an absolute delight. Thank you once again for being a guest of People of Distinction.
Thank you.